Gilg Jew, Gilg Jay as Gilg Nerach.
William Shewishall, the Hurgus of Claare show, Claare na Gael. My name is Robert Cutting Carswell, Robert a Carslach.
Did the ever hear tell of old Bobby Bob?
And the name of this programme is Claare na Gael, and in it you'll hear the English language as Ingenious Nishu Clashin and Gelg, and in it too you'll hear the Manx Gaelic, Chine na Maire, the mother tongue of Elinfanning, the Isle of Man. As Bannacht and Urish. Now, Dorothy Wordsworth is walking the island with Henry Hutchinson, whose sister Mary was married to Dorothy's poet brother William Wordsworth, and in the company too with William's 18-year-old son Willie. After spending the night in Peel, they visited the grave of Bishop Thomas Wilson in Kirk Michael and then walked under the trees that Bishop Wilson had planted at Bishopscourt. To Maisha Renfield ginsten a Cymregan, Machion an ach rennen Count Dracula snaustiach sa cheayrt ons tai Bennet and early John Seward, fo sash an oniag, gen ar burnach James Orlach on. To Maisha Renfield er be gortich de troms te fes aglach ach hadjinam liga orm shen ons mechore hind, chaus tabilai and skieler and all the Welsh and began dolly. Now, by chance, I came across a reference to the birth of John Benbow on the 10th of March, 1653. Now, he went on to become an admiral and was killed as a result of action in 1702. He died of his wounds sometime later, and that was out in the Caribbean, and he was buried at Kingston in Jamaica. There are absolutely no Celtic connections that I'm aware of, but we'll hear two songs about Admiral Benbow. Tashu geestiach rish radio vanning, stasiwn yn asiwn, viscoller scaliamach, vai dúlish, alin vanning.
We sailed from Virginia, and thence to Fainne, where we watered our ship, and then we weighed all in view on the seas, boys, 7 sails we did espy. We manned our capstan, and weighed speedily. First we come up with was a brigantine sloop, and we asked if the others was as big as they looked. But turning to windward as near as we could lie, we saw there were 10 men all were cruising by. We drew up our squadron in very nice line, and boldly we fought them for 4 hours' time. But the day being spent, boys, and the night coming on, we let them alone till the very next morn. Now the very next morning the engagement proved hot, and brave Admiral Benbow received a chain shot, and as he was wounded to his merry men he did say, take me up in your arms, boys, and carry me away. Now the guns they did rattle and the bullets did fly, but brave Admiral Benbow for help would not cry. Take me down to the cockpit, there is ease for the smarts. If the merry men see me, it will sure break their hearts. Now the very next morning, by break of the day, they hoisted their topsails and so bore away. We bore to Port Royal, where the people flocked much to see Admiral Benbow carried to Kingston Church.
Come all you brave fellows, wherever you've been, let us drink to the health of our King and our Queen. and another good health to the girls that we know, and a third in remembrance of brave Admiral Benbow.
June Tabor, accompanied mostly by Martin Simpson on guitar, and a song about Admiral Benbow. There's another song about Admiral Benbow later, and we'll also hear more from June Tabor later on as well. Now, having walked beneath the trees planted by Bishop Wilson of Bishopscourt, thence to Sulby. Sulby River, the largest in the island. Handsome bridge. Now, this was the original Sulby Bridge. It was a humpback bridge built in 1739, and it was replaced by a flatter, wider bridge in 1922 and 23 because it was known as the most difficult section of the TT course, coming up and going across that humpback bridge at Sulby. On with Dorothy Wordsworth. Women washing their clothes, girls bathing, a cheerful scene. At Henry's public house. Had a batch of Ramsay news, a wedding the day before that rang through the island. Carts, gigs, everything in requisition. The old mother moved about like a machine as if intent on keeping her body upright, and her old daughter sat to entertain us. So, I don't know whose wedding that would have been. I perhaps could have found out from the papers, possibly, although the papers at that time generally had a lot of foreign news in them from other newspapers that they got hold of, rather than local snippets. But having crossed the Sulby, the fact that they're in a pub, this is presumably the Ginger Hall. And the present building dates from 1889, but the pub had been named far earlier for the ginger beer that they brewed on the premises. The earliest reference I could find to the Ginger Hall per se was in a newspaper of 1817. And the old premises were destroyed by a fire in 1888, but there'd been a public house of some sort on the site from the 1790s, or at least the house that was there became a public from the 1790s. Well, shoh nish as geal an early John Seward. Sanuna va Corre Renfield nish. Mar so ren mi tash na melen ega leis a brandy rish, as high Ach, ve jean the rawa cunyan ega a rail rish gavrach as a verna, no the rawa skiel ega en all a rai. Va mi chi cor ersen go back as arn shen a skiel, ach, Dort van Helsing mor hanish dau, ligt hij chlaare, na gin brisjes jager, genod gul back, as fuddy na vud gul a chor bi, ma vis chit de gol snije smunjen ega. Hai Fainne le durri mi de glaasjen vai, ach, gerenne cor begger ma han, genei karchwulje garm, as tre jirri en neest van mi corrie de loerish. Tre renne skir a stiach through the nunjug, ger de rawi dunt, as de renne krankel, henk mi de ve jimusachrish. Renne gannages orm, as renne nedin wen ega gian mach as a che, as na soulien jurge ega lonrige. Now this is a bit of romantic poetry from the Isle of Mull now. It's sung for us by SEUMAS GREUMACH.
Yoin katul malem gu, is lying suvel tluritiv, o yoin katul malem gu, get the gun to toch galnorn. Gum fein katul malem hoy, get vegan schnach gachur man chroich, gum paschkin im haich gmaruan, is chumin je vod gachailes. Dover joch geal mar chanach loin, do groaien fallen drachnan ros, do valu chul mar ichtjen join, good biog is kjol doch einchlan. Yoin katul malem hu, is lying suvel bluritiv, o yoin katul malem hu, get the gun to doch galn. Be cwtjan geal yr ysmyd le crwys aion sfer yn syr gym ffôn y gos am bohan ffrych ach ws y gyn fi awn y law gyran ymylyn am biawn ffwr ach rynia cahogi am onwag gyred o gwyl ac ffyn mohoen sgwrt yr wag nach yr omi hawlet I oin cadw malem hw is lain sŵl blwyr I tyf o I oin cadw malem hw gedig yn tytoch gawn
SEUMAS GREUMACH and the Scottish group CRUINN. SEUMAS is the Chief Executive Officer of An Common Gaelic, which organises an mod, of which SEUMAS was a gold medal winner. Hai mor de bech leschen van kledden in it, as na rau misjach weg. Gerau en soregen mor ve tre haie sharm, had dot mi gedden gremer. Van mi smuljen ons sagt denjach, de rau banansje haker ertjitsjach se chamber. Ja, sus en de winje van in sayer al jabi is henket nol, as udsen in shadu chow chulu jay, na dod e fagenad, ach, bol on odach het clashen no share. Vat nin jist nin dust. Ren en alu moester, as ren e bibberni. Ach henken eddenegge de vee, no skromi is no strimme gushach vos. Hai Renfield de gin goil taste jay. Tre henk banans je haker stjaag le shilja orm faster Jew, gerawi se steed gedin. Gurish te log de tulje wustje ve kurich stjaag se fash he. On shoh rentjen ulju gleisige, ach gedorpeger bi vogel. Hai Gerau fissem de rawi und shoh der lori, as gerawi gin an ach hedin. Now, why Dorothy Wordsworth refers to this public house as Henry's public house isn't clear. He's a retired sea captain living on the South Quay in Douglas, so why would these premises in Sulby be anything to do with him? I had wondered if it was owned by a family called Henry, but there's actually an advert for sale of the premises in a newspaper of 1833 when it's described as being for the last 40 years occupied as an inn, going under the name of Ginger Hall or Scotch Tavern. And then the proprietor is named in that advert in 1833 as Margaret Williamson, so not Henry at all. It seems likely that it was the Ginger Hall they called in, because not long after this, Dorothy writes, turned out of road to Kirk Christ-Lizare, embowered in trees on the hill, and pretty house near. Well, at that time the old parish church stood in what is the eastern part of the churchyard. The area has been used for further burials, so there's nothing to show the old church now. Lizare Church and the Northern Arts Centre, as it now is, nearer to the main road, was built in the early 1830s, consecrated in 1835, so post Dorothy's visit. Welsh harp player ELINOR Bennett, Baroness Wigley. In fact, she was married to she married the former Plaid Cymru leader David Wigley, who was created Baron Wigley. In addition to her orchestral career as a soloist, holding masterclasses and so on, ELINOR Bennett founded the Harp College of Wales. Siodiw stasiwn na nasiwn radio Fainne is an siot as yw geisiach rys Claare na Gael, Mair Pin Robert Cutting Cornwall, Robert a Carslach.
Ever heard tell of our Bobby Bob?
To Claare na Gael master imedy Claare and radio Banning bis for Clashen, Rishachten looked out guller scalia machen cheayrt. Jorish brew a crammen ager in the radio Banning, as Ryan and Claare and Shen. De Claare na Gael jint more podcast, yes. Vis we gadden nasty in the radio Vanning, na trud and reich de podcast jou, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Audible, Spotify, Google Podcasts, TuneIn, na Alexa. Well, having visited the old Lisaire Parish Church on what is now a loop off the main road, on they go down past where the new church was built just a few years after Dorothy Wordsworth's visit. The whole country pleasant to Ramsey, she writes, steep red banks of river. The town close to the sea, within a large bay, formed to the north by a bare red steep, to the south by downs and grey cliffs, and backed by a green mountain and glen and fine trees, with houses on the steep. Large church in market-place, lately erected. Now, this is St. Paul's Church, and although she refers to it as a large church, it was originally smaller than it is now. It was built in the early 1820s and consecrated in August of 1822. So it had been open for 6 years by the time Dorothy Wordsworth saw it. Hospitably received by pretty Mrs. Duke and her 2 pretty little girls. Allowed to rest on sofa in her new-dressed drawing-room. Piggott's directory for a few years later shows a lodging house owned by Esther Duke in Strand Street in Ramsey, so I presume that's Mrs. Duke if she's able to go along to her, although she wasn't actually lodging there. Moor jammen fully glass, smile jammed les paltje fuilandau, as we jean de rau shen vex, ulju rai mag asji. Rau mi smuljen ag tre shenach, tre hai soel, rau mi taich der smuljen. As hug arm we corrie, der rau eschen we Gael vjois mag asji. Dat mi genachten der renne firelje bibberni, maar ren mish, ach renschen tannachten und sachten elje gin glacier. Maar so, tre henke nach van mi han. Honnig mi gei snuistjaag aan, as rau mi greimorie de chan. Van mi glaasjen nek denje benrich, terwijl njaart skin doeges. As vijf vissem de rau mi me wonje benrich, na kiert nanchirby, vij formed je no image jane voorem. She, as deni eschen en yes, vijf vij ersen chit maag as a gei de strurum. Ren mi kummel greim chan as smunny me de rau cheayrt. The tune of this Irish language song, Fainne, Gael and Lay, was popularised by its use for On Raglan Road and The Star of the County Down. It's sung here by MAIRE NI BHREATNACH.
Maidin mocht the house amach vroege loche leen. An saure tacht se chrievle mash gus long rute onjereen. A tarstel vom tre walte port gus bande mine re. Ke jonge mash ach an cholen das le Fainne Gael and Lay. Níor a brog na Stoker caip na clog mus dairi nog on spéir. Ach falt fin orge sies getra a go BOWDEN year. Vi callan krútig in a glag, ser grúcht by jasses skeif. Dog bargian o Venus jazz, le Fainne Gael on bleu. Da hi an vrideach sies le marsh vinse glasten a maga levis a muiv go pras mar vrina scaring le she dorchi lumsa I mi shawan a skin mer shula Shin the nas na sail tacht le Fainne Gael on le.
MAIRE NI BHREATNACH singing and playing Fainne Gael on Le, The Bright Ring of the Day, published by Edward Walsh in 1847 in Irish Popular Songs, although a version in English was subsequently published with the title The Dawning of the Day, a bit more prosaic, I think, than Fainne Gael on Le. Harau mi la le de Gael cúigeile Jane Viosek, der a honnig mi na súlia ege. Renned last a stiach anam. As henk man jaar de wei mar ustje, renne snau na grúd. As tre hug mi eber glakke renne troggle soes mi as gauwe mi schies. Va bodgel djur grom, as fire gurish tarnach, as vei jean de renne snauwer soel foon dors. Van gereige chit de wei as vers, as an enneleg as fiery as na stockery. Jas van Helsing soes gint hoort. De vissein an rid smedden ish doorte. Teon shoh as de vissein of his foe. Fuddy na beer raw ammach, lig de weapenen vi ein. Weapenen vi ein, na ridden geddens vi ein on the elje, ach na lig dun call tre, chanel tullach ein de jummel. Harau Fainne coronalein, de jaru a sugar sign, ons vogelen, bashin gamal shulnim lichen and reach. Harau Fainne coronalein, de jaru a sugar sign, ons vogelen, bashin reina der gelia. Brenchen ol you sairi as gaushin vine a schemernein, na nien gedden vine tre heishens jach, ons tire count. Well, Dorothy Wordsworth has gone, it seems, to Mrs. Duke's lodging house in Strand Street in Ramsey. That branched off the promenade running north, and it ran along into Queen Street and then across Dale Street and into Mona Street. So if you know where Mona Street is, opposite there would be the entrance to Queen Street, and a bit further on it would run into the Strand Street where the lodging house was. Dorothy Wordsworth had been sitting in Mrs. Duke's new dress drawing sitting room on the sofa, and I came across another advert from the 1830s where Mrs. Duke was selling a Broadwood piano. There's a piano by the Broadwood Company, so it's not unlikely that this would have been in the drawing room where Dorothy Wordsworth was resting on the sofa. Lodgers just arrived, to whom we must give it up, and we took tea in her little close parlour. Flowers and plants and prints of Methodist parsons. Now, whilst Mrs. Duke's drawing room was new-dressed, Dorothy Wordsworth isn't so complimentary about other parts of the house, although she liked Mrs. Duke herself. A sordidness in every part, but so much kindness one didn't care. Now, this is a song written and sung by BOWDEN, who's from Helston, and he wrote this song at the instigation of Fergus Muller, who's a pasty maker in Helston and in Porthleven.
My heart belongs to Cornwall, and all within, to every cove and fabled story. story that's whispered on the wind, to every dream and Cornish saviour that brought forth the light. But does Humphrey Davy know his worth tonight? And from Lizartaloo and from Xanatabu, down from Zor to sweet Lamorna, every path I choose leads me back to you, and a truth I have known forever. Blessed we, for we are Cornwall, and Cornwall is our home. Standing that sou'wester maid, you'll never stand alone, as the songs of our forefathers echo through the night. Like our darling boy Fitzsimmons, we will never ever lose. In this land of saints there burns an eternal flame. It's an ancient joyous wonder that no one can explain, and I feel it on the cliff tops and in the bays, and you can see it on those faces every day. It's a song that's sang all across this land. It's a seed that's sown forever. But when Michael Joseph died and our rights had been denied, one and all we stood together. Blessed we, for we are Cornwall, and Cornwall is our home. Stand in that sou'wester part, you'll never stand alone, as the songs of our forefathers echo through the night. Like our darling boy Fitzsimmons, we will never ever lose any fight. My heart belongs to Cornwall, and all within, to every cove and fabled story that's whispered on the wind, to every dream and Cornish saviour that brought forth the light. But does Humphrey Davy know his worth tonight? And from Lizartaloo and from Xanatabu, down from Zor to sweet Lamorna, every path I choose leads me back to you, and a truth I have known forever. Blessed we, for we are Cornwall, and Cornwall is our home. Stand in that sou'wester maid, you'll never stand alone, as the songs of our forefathers echo through the night. Like our darling boy Fitzsimmons, we will never ever lose any fight.
Ben Bowden and his song The Spirit of Cornwall. Although Dorothy Wordsworth speaks well of Mrs. Duke's kindness, she did notice in her house a sordidness in every part. Her kitchen surprisingly untidy, a little hole downstairs, and she, happy and smiling, among the dirt. Was ready to put on her bonnet after tea to walk with us and her little lasses to the cottage. She as smart and tight as if but 17. Ships in harbour, a steam vessel at a distance, and sea and hills bright in the evening time. Pleasant houses overlooking the sea, but the cottage all unsuspected till we reached a little opening where it lurks at the foot of a glen under green steps, a low thatched white dwelling, the grassy pleasure plot adorned with flowers, and above it on one side a hanging garden, flowers, fruit, vegetables intermingled, and above all the orchard and forest trees. Kindly welcome from the hostess, Mrs. Brew, and her friend Miss Trivett. Now, the directory shows Mrs. Elizabeth Brew at Ballure Cottage. I haven't actually located Miss Trivett as such. Vods and neganolu genderlu. As gouds henkshin kujak sahalia, renne kaurige maget de troom gusha gouds doorte, hanella drieuwer sulvom, as gabiad der a higkion a gush trimshach shoh, BG krina nies mugurgen, gene nodge kajen erbid hashin strepperish, A try, de beche, de jinnach madam mina walk surrants. Renne square by de van gereig a chittewee brish, as rauw fissem rauw en tausmoede joulus na de atchem se chriem pien. Chow mooi je Doris na hakeren, renshin fargach, ren artus Quincy cum rail. Ren artus Quincy cum rail, as doort de na wel in jaart de worry. Sein dan, doort Van Helsing de grauw, maar vis Doris volglaas jem brische schiesei. Nach gin shen aglige de moerie, rit jou gaadjene de brische stjach en schemer wen. Doort Van Helsing de troom gushach, en touwes kaart de kinjach, ach shoh bios na bes. Manx tune for the fiddlers, acting as a sort of waits going round the houses, for which they were paid their deserving the unisup, or in the form of the tune's title, the Wonderscope. Bernard Osborne and Peter Lum.
The Nation Station, Manx Radio.
Stasiwn yn asiwn tyn ei show Radio Fanning, she Claare na Gael and Claare show, mish Robert Gutting Carswell or Robert a Carslach.
Have I heard tell of old Bobby Bob?
Ta da chulju chemer yn rid chedden dyn erli, as eer man a rawd, ta dolju yn rid chedden douche noch. Mach ara John, gin corshis de Gheibhinn, the sigh, a shoeish nis mach urgin. Nish! Hyndea a dornain chaus lore, a charen an coola liga. Chiawul you gin a trimmed ein naiga, lesh crash renne brische fajlich, as dobber don tujum gaur nin ging stiach sa chamer. Ren an nalu tujum ons reachich, as va shiliem, herish skin, chaus vi trogel susa hin, vain a lawen as na gluna nega. Shen honig me, hug an drach arm. Jenny min a renegen, giri de friggenach coolma wannel, as ve jean de raume chrie gin boelia. Gael van rei hollis through the dol an chew bui, de rau sailje de lure at de hagen sa chamer. Erel yabi, Ljorish an unyag, va Jonathan Harker na lai, an edin eg a jurgich, as tarn enel de trom, mar de bech tolenas Now, in 1939, the monthly magazine ran a series called Rambles in the Isle of Man, about a visit in 1838 by an anonymous writer. And these articles were reproduced in the Manx Sun of 1840, from January onwards, and in the second article, this visitor is in Ramsey, where he stays at the Heelis Hotel overnight and then explores the area. And now, he writes, he arrives at a little valley on his right hand, and he perceives an elegant cottage ornée. And although he knows not the kind and hospitable inmates, yet he is in love with its very appearance. and instead of longing with Burns for a cave on some wild distant shore, he would rather gaze on the blue smoke curling up from this sweet cottage in the valley, and from its pleasant window gaze along the rugged and broken rocks that line the shore to Port Lieg, or look up in awe to Burrul, the high, the barren, yet still beautiful Burrul. But come, we shan't linger here, although Mrs. Brew and Mrs. Trivett will play the siren, so evidently to lure them to come and stay there at this cottage. So they evidently ran an attractive establishment there at Ballure Cottage. Well, here's that other song about Admiral Benbow, sung in this version by Kimber's Men.
Come all you seamen bold, come all you seamen bold, and draw near, come all you seamen bold, and draw near. 'Tis of an admiral's fame, and brave Benbow was his name, how he fought all on the main, you shall hear, you shall hear. Brave Benbow he set sail, brave Benbow he set sail, for to fight, brave Benbow he set sail, for to fight. Brave Benbow he set sail in a fine and pleasant gale, but his captains they turned pale in a fright, Said Kirby unto Wade, we will run, said Kirby unto Wade, we will run. For I value no disgrace, nor the losing of my place, but the enemy I'll not face, nor his guns, The Ruby and Benbow, fought the French, the Ruby and Benbow, fought the French. They fought them up and down, till the blood came trickling down, where they lay, Brave Benbow lost his legs, by chain shot, brave Benbow lost his legs, by chain shot. Brave Benbow lost his legs, now down on his stumps he begs. Fight on, my English lads, 'tis our lot, Come, surgeon, dress my wounds, cried Benbow, come, surgeon, dress my wounds, cried Benbow. Let a cradle now in haste on the quarter deck be placed, so the enemy I might face till I die, When in death he closed his eyes, they all cried, when in death he closed his eyes, they all cried. What a terrible sight to see, our brave hero of the day, and they carried him to Kingston Church, where he lay,
Kimber's Men, and another song about Admiral John Benbow, dealing with his death in 1702, but the official record shows John Benbow's birth, as happening on the 10th of March 1653. In fact, that was a date that was worked out by an astrologer, talking when they were wanting to put together a life of John Benbow. So the 10th of March 1653 may be right, it may be wrong, but at least we got two good songs out of it. Mrs. Elizabeth Brew and Miss Trivett are described by Dorothy Wordsworth. The one faded and sickly, yet bright and elegantly formed. The other, a lively little shrimp, toothless in the under jaw, hard-worked hands and arms telling of all-day labour in her little garden. A bewitching spot, the cottage, peeps of the sea and up the glen, and a full view of the green steep, a little stream murmuring below. We sauntered in the garden, and I paced from path to path, picked ripe fruit, ran down to the sands, there paced, watched the ships and steamboats, in short, was charmed with the beauty and novelty of the scene. the quiet rural glen, the cheerful shore, the solemn sea. To bed before day was gone. And here we hear of Miss Brew and Miss Trivett in 1828, and we've heard the other description of the cottage from 1838. Now, while I was looking for information, I found that Mrs. Brew, the widow of James Brew, died in 1850, whilst there was a Miss Trivett of Ramsey who died in 1851 at the age of 80. I presume that must have been her. Glúna oer snedda liavach as an edinec as a chawmwy, va cumma a ven as ish comrich ons edach ven. Rishal yadi, va dunya liaur tanana yadu, as comrich ons edach hu. Van edineg a chinded shulvoin, ach, chalias honig shin va enain olio a chount, ons de cholioacht iergus a chron a vesh. Lesja lauwcher, renne greme de lauw van asje haker, freiler soelad les na reigen ex ledden chon. Van lauw jesegge goil gremoril, joris coole mwannel, a saai en edden ex schies a chliewegge. Van goon lief, ben ek, sleet les foel, as verschilje kiel reischies kliw roes de dunje, waar hagen joris en edach egge va erne repe foslich. Va shadow and der ver, Jean de haglach, gurish peetje, sai stroin fishin stjach, und scale de vanje, de chor giw. De chor giw. Gouds renshin brisje stjachse chema, renne chountchin day en edinegge. Now we heard June Tabor singing of Admiral Benbow before. Again, she's accompanied by the guitar of Martin Simpson. There's also Dave Bristow and John Davy. In this song, originating in Scotland but collected in the north of Ireland, Heather Down the Moor.
One morning they went fields were gay, serene and pleasant was the weather. Espied a lass and a very bonny lass, she was sweeping the dew from among the heather down the moor. And among the heather o'er the morn through the heather. Espied a lass and a very bonny lass, she was sweeping the dew from among the heather down the moor. Barefooted was she was comely dressed, and I had for neither hat nor feather. She'd a platter up neatly round her waist as she tripped through the bloom and heather down the moor. And among the heather o'er the morn through the heather. She'd a platter up neatly round her waist as she tripped through the bloom and heather down the moor. I stepped up to this fair young maid, tell me your name, come tell me the. She answered me down with the bonny burnside, and I've heard enough of my youth together down the moor. And among the heather o'er the morn through the heather. She answered me down with the bonny burnside, and I've heard enough of my youth together down the moor. I courted her that livelong day, my heart was light as any feather, until the beams of the red setting sun come a-shining down, and among the heather down the moor. And among the heather o'er the morn through the heather, until the beams of the red setting sun come a-shining down, and among the heather down the moor. And among the heather down the moor.
June Tabor and Heather Down the Moor, collected by Sam Henry between 1923 and 1939, and his songs were printed in the Northern Constitution, a newspaper in Coleraine in Northern Ireland, but his work wasn't published as a whole collection until 1990, in fact. Ve jeander en a common nurenach tam je glaasjen kunte jay, liemmerstjaag ons edden account. Renne Julian lost the jurg las Gina de jowl, ren toelvoeren a strone ven urledach, fosle de leen, as wat de krauw nen oiren, as van a fieglen ben a gibbach, chow hulu jay mailen chew a veal, bedrigge fool, kainjer a chelia, gurusen, ek bech fai. Well, Dorothy Wordsworth's diary has brought us down to stay overnight in Bloor Cottage with Mrs. Brew and Miss Trivett, where she's now retired early, although of course the days are long in July. She moves on now to July the 10th of 1828, Thursday. Rose early and half-dressed. Couldn't resist the sunny grass plot, the shady woody steeps, the bright flowers, the gentle breezes, the soft flowing sea. Well, we move off from there with the party next time. Chris Pearson brings you 2 hours of the best chill-out music for your Sunday evening from 7 o'clock till 9, and then Judith Lay will be here with Sundown at 9. We close Claare Gael with Welsh band Mim Twm Llai and a song about Cwmorthyn, a slate quarry west of the village of Tan na Grisiau. And since 2023, the quarry has, I'm not sure it boasted, but it's got an underground hotel called Deep Sleep, which is 419 metres down. That's nearly 1,400 foot. Sinead, that's it now until the next time. So this is Robert Cutting-Carswell, Robert de Carslach.
Oh, Bobby Bob.
Wishing you a very good night. Eve I'm a crieriw as orselier, as my year and shared you will you.
Lle ma'n enw I wedi ei grafu